Hello, Da Vinci. Welcome back. This is our English lesson for Friday, the 22nd of January. So our learning objective is, can I finish telling the story using thought shower ideas about what happened in La Luna? So we've been through all of the time sentence starters up to the last two. So I'm going to use the last two now. So these are what you're going to need: your thought shower ideas, your pencil, your paper, your whiteboard pen. Okay, so a quick game. So let's start off with a quick game. We've got our verb on one side and our adjective on the other side. What I want you to do is I want you to move to one side of the room. Maybe you could stand up, hands on head, hands on fingers, hands on fingers, fingers on nose, depending on which one you think is right or wrong. You can decide how you want to play that game. So we've got the word huge. Huge. Is huge an adjective on this side, or is it a verb? Can you do huge, or are you huge? Which one do you think you are? Which one? Well, it's going to be a adjective. This has happened again. Why won't it go in this space? Because it's definitely not a verb. Right, it's going in here. It doesn't disappear from me. I don't know what goes on. I check every single time. Right. Break. What do we think? Break. Now, it could be, there's a few things you could interpret break as, but I'm thinking it might mean as in you break something, as in he broke the star, okay? So if you break something, is it an adjective or is it a verb? What do we think? Should we have a look? I think it might be a verb. You can break something, break a pencil, okay? You break the star. What about fall? What do we think fall is going to be? Is fall going to be an adjective, or is it going to be a verb? What do we think? Should we try adjective, or is it going to be a verb? It's going to be a verb because you fall over, okay? Now we've got enormous here. Enormous. What do we think? Enormous is going to be something is enormous, or can you do enormous? It's going to be an adjective. If you are enormous, then you're huge, as in, like, think about the star, the enormous star. We've then got radiant. Now radiant's a really tricky word. What it means is it means something is really, really bright. So if it's a radiant star, it's a really, really bright star. What do we think it is? Is it a verb? Can you be radiant? Or is it an adjective? Something is radiant. What do we think? We can try verb, but it's not a verb, so it must be an adjective. Bright. Now, if radiant is another word for bright and radiant is an adjective, what do we think? Is it going to be a verb, or is it going to be an adjective like radiant? It's going to be an adjective like radiant. Okay, we've got two left. Let's do sail. Let's do sail first. Okay, so sail. What do we think? Is sail an adjective, or is it a verb? What do we think? To sail. Can you sail a boat? Yes, you can. So it's going to be a verb. Now, last one, star. Star. Can you do star? Do you describe something as a star? I can tell you right now that it is neither. Star is what we call a red herring, and this is what I've put here. Now, red herring is when you a cheeky little mistake on purpose, and I've put in the word star because it's neither an adjective or a verb, and there's only very few times that it is a verb. So this would be more of a noun, wouldn't it? Because you can see a star, or you can touch the star if the boy touches the star, doesn't it? So it is our noun. So it's neither. So I tried to trick you out there. So I wonder if you caught that one. Right, let's move on. So on Tuesday's lesson, we began writing our story. So today we're going to be finishing it. So we've got, this is my map, my thought map, or my thought shower of ideas. And this is what I've got so far. So I want you to make sure you've got that ready. So now let's move on. So hammer the star. So hammer the star. So what I need you to do is I need you to get yourself the rest of your work, and you're going to get yourself ready to write it. So I've got my sheet here, and my sheet's telling me what my ideas I've already done and what I'm going to go with next. So I've got after that. So that's my time sentence starter I'm going to start with. I'm going to change my A to a capital A. I'm going to get myself my text ready to write it on. I'm going to make my text box here. There. So after that, my previous sentence was before long, his dad and granddad arrived, and Dan listened to them argue over which broom works better. So that was my last sentence. So after that, hammer the star. That's not long enough. It's not exciting enough. It doesn't explain anything. So that's not good enough. After that, hammer the star. Not only is it present tense, it needs to be past tense. So after that, I'm going to describe that star. So a star. That doesn't tell me enough about it. Let's add in those adjectives. A huge star. So a huge star fell, verb. A huge star fell from the sky, and there's my conjunction. So a huge star fell from the sky, and then what? It was the little boy that went and climbed it, didn't he? And he used the hammer. So after that, a huge star fell from the sky, and then my little boy's name is Dan. So yours might be something different, but that's fine. So after that, a huge star fell from the sky, and Dan used a hammer. Now I could say, and Dan hammered this, but that doesn't quite sound as good. So I'm going to say used. Now remember, use is present tense, as in I use my mouse. That's present tense. However, I need to make it past because it's already happened. So it's going to be used. He used a hammer to, what did he use the hammer to, and it hammered the star. And what happened to the star? The star broke, didn't it? It broke into smaller stars. So he used a hammer to break. Now, even though break is a present tense word, because it's used a hammer to break, it's changing it from present tense to past tense. That one word used is changing the whole rest of the sentence. Okay, so a huge star fell from the sky, and Dan used a hammer to break it into. Oh, I need to put a finger space. Used a hammer to break it into smaller pieces. I think that's what I'm going to go with. Ooh, pieces. There we go. I'm going to reread my sentence. After that, a huge star fell from the sky, and Dan used a hammer to break it into smaller pieces. Now, I'm going to do a bit of a spotlight, a bit of a share. I'm going to be hopefully sharing it in the next lesson. But I wanted to say well done to the children that have written their entire one, and they've really expanded out their sentences. I saw some amazing commas in a list. I saw some amazing expanded noun phrases. So instead of me putting huge star, I could have put after that a huge comma bright star. And something that's really going to help you improve your writing. So let me go on to the next one. So let's go. Sweep the stars. So my last one was finally, making it a capital letter for the beginning of my sentence. So finally. Well, what happened finally? Sweep the stars. They swept the stars into, like on one side, wasn't it? On one side of the moon, and it made like a shape, and then they sailed home for a nice warm bath. That's my idea. So finally, they swept. So I'm going to change that word, sweep, into swept. Now, swept is not sweeped. Sweeped, that's not a word. So it's swept. Finally, they swept, which means they brushed the stars. So finally, they swept the stars to one side of the moon. Now, a bit of a tricky one. Moon, even though it's the name of our moon, it's not a name, so it doesn't need a capital letter. Lots of other moons in our solar system have names, like Mars's moons. They've got two, and they both got names, and they both have capital letters for their names. But our moon doesn't have a name. We just call it the moon. And because it's the moon, it doesn't have a capital letter. That's my dog snoring in the background, in case you were wondering what that noise was. Finally, they swept the stars one side of the moon, and then they sailed, and instead of sail, they have changed it to sailed because it's past tense, and sailed home for a nice warm bath. Excellent. Now, nice warm bath. Expanded noun phrase. That's my sentence. I've managed to expand out my small ideas, sweep the stars. That's what they did. And I've expanded it out. I've added in some adjectives. I've added in some, made it past tense, and it looks a lot more exciting now. So let's go on to your challenges. Challenge 1. Write a sentence for each picture. Remember to start a sentence with a capital letter and end with a full stop. The 3 pictures we've been working on all week, write them yourself. You could even expand them out if you really want to challenge yourself. Challenge 2. Write 2 sentences using the words below as sentence starters. So after that, and finally, using so as your conjunction. Write 2 sentences using the words below as your sentence starters. After that, and finally, and using conjunctions and adjectives to really expand out your work. That's challenge 3. Here are your conjunctions to give you some help. That's everything for our English lesson today. I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Goodbye, Da Vinci.